Evening, folks. It is Monday. It is not quite Monday night football time. Hope you guys are doing well. Just want to show off some of the RGR wear. If you guys are interested, they'll be underneath the videos. That's one way you can support the channel. I'll take all the support I can get because the Chiefs certainly need it as well. It's been a rough day rewatching that game. Got the snap counts as well. I put a couple of observations out on Twitter. We'll go through some more here. Tonight's beer is homemade pale ale. My favorite, Amarillo and Denali are the hops. So appreciate everybody who's checked out the beer podcast on the other channel. It's starting to catch on a little bit, so we're going to keep growing. And if anybody wants to do a live chat about the beer pod, I can do that too. So y'all just let me know at some point. So. Aaron, you got the do shirt. I'm sure I'll do that a couple of times tonight. So let me know how you feel about the shirts. Looking for any kind of feedback anybody has on any of the purchases they make in terms of the quality of it. Just want to make sure that you're getting what we're paying for. So I'll start off tonight. I put Hill on the thumbnail because Hill's presence all by itself, whether he made those catches or not, his presence all by itself changed the way defenses had to play him. You can start out in man, but you'll find even the broadcasters were pointing out that eventually the Houston Texans had to back off into zone looks specifically because they were getting beat by Hill and they needed to put a couple of guys on him, a brackets, a trail position corner with a safety over the top. And that way you get, as he runs, you're just shadowing him both ways. That's what a bracket is, and that's what they had to move to in order to try to narrow down what they're doing. Aaron, so the new hoodie is better than the first one. Okay, great. This is my original hoodie, so I'm going to be looking to get another one as well. So, and still working on trying to get a hat vendor. Teespring isn't going to do it until we move a whole lot more pieces. So we'll deal with that later. So, but I'm glad that you like that. So, Hill's going to continue to change things. He only played 50% of the snaps, 29 on the day. So it definitely wasn't like a full go for him, but they felt his impact right away, and they will again. I don't think there's any question there. So just getting to the point where he can contribute to a full game, that's going to change hopefully this Thursday against the Broncos. I will be at this game. I'm going to try to do the live post game from the field. I have a couple of folks with the Broncos organization that let me in last time. We'll see if we can do that again. If not, it'll be from the stands or something like that. But I'm not accredited press. The Broncos won't let me in either. That's okay. That's what happens. It just takes a while. Oh, Adam Daughtry, yes, beer. I like it. That said, as Hill can make an impact, even against Denver, it helps what Mahomes has to do. And I wish that I had next stream. I'm going to do one of the other ones. You guys have seen where I have guests on some of the streams, and I know it looks terrible. This looks terrible too. I'm still working on better internet. But the other service lets me put up my screen too. And I'll do that next time that I'm in home because I want you guys to see the routes. Because while Tyreek Hill had an impact, they didn't run crossing routes with him very much. Just one by what the next gen stats show. In fact, I'll put that in the Twitter for anybody new that's in the chat or whatever. Leave a thumbs up if you like this one. If you want to leave a super chat and help out the channel, do that below. But make sure you ask a question, please. And if you don't know me on Twitter, it's Ryan Tracy NFL. You can find it at the RGR Podcast account or even my Rogue Analytics account. There's all kinds of Twitter accounts. And I'll put the next gen stats. The nice thing about them is they show the actual paths, not just, hey, he made this catch here or this or whatever. It's not a stat sheet. It shows you the routes that he ran. And the interesting thing is that it was a lot of short things, some outs, a couple of longer routes, but not like the deep crossers that I think he's really apt to help them with. And you've seen some of those. That sidearm pass against the Chargers, a a lot of things that I think he's just not quite all the way back yet. But that's where I think they're going to have to attack, because trying to piece this offensive line back together and make Mahomes stand in there like we saw the other day is just a recipe for disaster, especially against Von Miller, who I think you're going to see move over and unstereotypically, he usually lines up on the left side of the defense. I think you're going to see him line up on the right, just like we saw with Houston flip over there, so that they can play against Cam Irving, who didn't even practice in full today. So it could even be somebody else besides Cam Irving at left tackle this week on Thursday night, and that's a problem as well. Again, I'll get to see, because I'll be there live, I'll get to see some of the wider angle stuff, but I won't have the specifics. So we'll have to get into that after I rewatch it again next week before I leave on vacation. So I think the crossing route, intermediate, the 8-yard kind of mid crosser, the deeper ends at 12 yards, maybe not 15. Those are routes that can help Pat Mahomes get the ball out a little bit quicker, not be so susceptible in the back, just kind of waiting to get hit. This has to be a week in particular that you do not let him get crunched. They have to adjust it. They're playing with fire, continuing to put him out there against this patched together offensive line and not running more rhythmic plays. Those are the two things about the offense. The other thing that I want to say is there's a lot of talk about the run game. You guys know how I feel. Even Seth's coming back around that, it has to happen in certain situations, and that's all he's going to give up, and that's okay. I'll try to get Eric Eager on the podcast next week when I get back, and we'll see how he feels about it. But here's the bottom line. Some of the play calls that Andy Reid makes are run-pass options where it's really two plays, and it's a pass or a run. So some of the lack of running has to go on Pat Mahomes' shoulders as well, because he has options there where he can run the ball. My guess is his mentality, he's going to choose to throw it. So that's part of it too. Mike Hall, I see a bunch of you guys in there asking questions about linebackers. That's the next item on my list. I'll get to it in just a minute, okay? So far, I'm not trying to put blame. I'm just trying to say that there are probably a few more options to run than that were called that we didn't see, because I think Pat Mahomes wants to throw the ball too, and that's part of it. So there's still more options there. I want to see them do it more. The other thing that I caught, and I'm not going to have time for a full film room this week, so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts in a couple of smaller videos, because by the time I get the all-22, it's going to be ready for doing pre-game for the Broncos, because this short week just throws everything into chaos. But I'll give you a couple of plays, and if after I record the analysis, if I can then get the visual like late, I'll throw it on top if I can. It just might have to be another week where we get an actual film room. But the thing that I will tell you is, just from rewatching the game, there are times where they're not doing what they do. We saw a couple of runs, especially in the third quarter, where they pulled this strange, we're not going to block J.J. Watt. We're going to double team both the tackles, and we're going to leave Cam Irving one-on-one and try to run the ball. It was 5 linemen and LaShawn McCoy against 7 guys playing the defense. It's not a good recipe. You can get away with it if you do what this team should be doing, what they're built to do, and that is run the zone offense, run outside zone. So they ran that play. They got shut down for a 2-yard loss. They came back. They called a pass. I think that was incomplete. And then they came right back and ran outside zone, where each individual lineman has an assignment, and it's about athleticism. It's about getting out in front of the blocks. They ran that, and that's the run that sprung McCoy for 17 yards. They just didn't do what they do enough. This team can run the ball. McCoy ended up 5.5 yards a carry for the day. Damian Williams only got 1 carry, and he went for 6 yards. If they do what they do, how they're built in using the zone blocking run offense, they can keep hits off of Pat. They can gain yards that way. They can get themselves in third and not 21 or whatever they were in a couple of different times. The problem is you got to be solid in your assignment, and you got to not commit penalties. The penalties are huge, and they're knocking the snot out of this offense. They got to stop that. Shooting themselves in the foot is a good way to put it. I know that's what Coach Reed used, and I just don't see it. That said, I also think that Coach Reed, and I hope that he's watching this. I don't mean to be negative, and I'm not trying to just be callously criticizing. Coach Reed knows how to run the ball too. He just gets caught up and doesn't do it enough. And I'm to the point now where I'm not calling RPOs run plays because I don't think Pat's going to choose to run very often. I think he's generally going to take the bigger play. So I want more dedicated run calls. I think that will help the offense. I think we'll maintain some tempo. They held the ball for such a short time. If you guys weren't on the stream last night, they held the ball for less than 6 minutes in the second half. And if you call more dedicated runs, even if you're not getting incredible yardage, even if you're getting, tackled for 2-yard gain or have plays where you don't gain yardage, you're still eating clock. You're still staying in a rhythm. You're still giving your offensive linemen a chance to get into a rhythm. 3s and out are going to crush this team because they are a rhythmic kind of group. So it's something that can't be underestimated. I'll get to the linebackers in a second. Got a couple of questions. Thank you for the super chat donations, both you guys. Samir, here's yours. Darren Lee deserves a spot on the 53. He does. He doesn't deserve to be a starter in my mind. He should not be playing in the base defense. This base defense, and we're going to talk about possible additions, this base defense should not include Darren Lee. Should be a nickel linebacker that comes in. I'd love to see him and Neiman just be nickel linebackers. I'm perfectly okay with that. But you get into some of the substitution problems and that kind of thing after a while. Hang on, guys. More about linebackers. Let me get this other super chat answered. Firefighter Farmer, thank you for yours. I appreciate you too. And I will answer questions. And one that's been on the mind, and I've seen a ton of reference to this all over Twitter today, and that is trying to make a signing. I don't feel there's anybody out there that can help this team. Zach Brown is not an upgrade over what they have. The Chiefs took a look at him briefly this last offseason. They did not sign him because he cannot play. He cannot run anymore. That's why he's being released now. He is not an upgrade specifically over Hitchens or Wilson. He might be a little bit in the run game an upgrade over Darren Lee, but he can't play in the pass. He just can't run anymore. Same thing with Brandon Marshall. A lot of folks bringing up his name. Brandon Marshall is not in any shape. His knee was so bent out of shape, he could not make the Raiders roster. That tells you something. So I know there's a lot of crying out for, let's find somebody who will do something. But the answer is on this roster already. It's adjusting what you do in terms of how you deploy the defense. They played a lot more of the base defense yesterday. And that's good when you know that teams are going to want to run on you. Sorry. A little bit of sniffle there. But they failed in another way because you deployed defenses with 3 linebackers and Reggie Ragland wasn't one of them. If you're going to try to stop the run, you can't do it with Darren Lee. This lineup in the base defense, and the problem is they're worried about getting caught in the base and having teams throw on them when they see that Reggie Ragland's out there. But this base defense needs to be Wilson at the Sam, Reggie at the middle linebacker, and Hitchens at the will. That's what it needs to be. Darren Lee is not good enough against the run. He's good in coverage, and he deserves playing time, but he does not need to be out there in the base defense. If you have Reggie, even if they shift out of it and you're going to let your will go run in coverage, which would be Hitchens, which he's played better in coverage than he has against the run this year, then you're left with your 2 inside linebackers being Wilson and Ragland, and you can stop the run that way. It won't be pretty and it won't be perfect, but it'll be better. It's frustrating. I will say this. There is a signing out there that I would probably at least explore. I don't know what kind of shape he's in, but Shane Ray is a speed pass rusher, and that's something they don't have right now. Every one of their pass rushers right now, all the DNs, including Tano Pagano, are power rushers. They don't have that speed element. And in today's game, that's what you have to have. part of Frank's problem is that he's not an all-speed rusher. He's more of a power guy. He's a lot like Justin Houston. He doesn't have that super burst, and he doesn't have that super get-off. And that's part of why fans are so frustrated with him not performing more or racking up more stats. That's what it comes down to. So I would give Shane Ray a look. I know there's the whole hometown thing. I don't care about any of that. He fits what they need and what they don't have right now. And honestly, he might push a couple of people because he doesn't have to play with strength. He can play with speed, and that might help. I do feel like Spags blitzed enough. Maybe I would do a little bit more because I like to blitz more. But I will say this. If you need to stop the run, like you have to stop the run this week. This week, Phillip Lindsay is going to run all over this team because he doesn't need a very big gap to begin with. He's a small dude. If they don't shore this up. So I want to see Reggie starting with at middle linebacker. I want to see him play in the base and let that Flacco try to throw over the top of him. Stop the run. 7, 8 guys make Joe Flacco beat you. And if you want to have, a nickel look, fine. Blitz Reggie in the A-gaps. Take away the inside rush. The defense isn't giving a whole lot up around the edges. It's not like they're getting run around and the sweeps and the reverses are killing them. No, everything that they're giving up is right between the tackles. So blitz the A-gaps and take one of those away no matter what. If you send 5 against the run consistently, they have to change what they do. They might double up and put more tight ends in, but you have to be aggressive about it. And that's the missing link. Not only do you have to change the personnel that you use in the base in order to stop the run, but you have to be more aggressive with it all the way around. There's too much hesitation. There's too much guys not filling the right gap. And quite frankly, some of it's a little bit overly complex. Twists on the goal line and stuff. Don't twist on the goal line. Beat your man. Line up, heads up, and beat him. That's it. That's all you got to do. It should be more straightforward. They need to practice it some more. I know they haven't had a whole lot of time. I've heard that from multiple sources. You got to practice it. Brian Gooch, your super chat donation. Thank you, sir. Frank says no aggression. How is that possible when you know teams are going to want to punch you in the mouth and stop the MVP? That's a good question. I feel like the offense is aggressive when it can be. If there's enough protection, Mahomes is going to go downtown. He's going to be aggressive. The defense has to match that. And I got to tell you, I feel like Tyrann Mathieu's attitude, his energy, I think his level of play is up there. I think he's everything that they paid for. So far, I think he's a leader. I think he's performing the way that he should. I'd like to see a few more PBUs or even interceptions. But he's doing his job. I can't say that about anybody else on this defense that is consistently doing their job and performing well at it. Tyrann Mathieu is not part of the problem. I've seen people question him, and I quite frankly don't understand that. I get it when you're not seeing Frank get home or not seeing Frank make a huge impact. If you watch the game closely, he's got a brace on his elbow as well. There's something else going on with Frank Calrk that is physical. I didn't see it in camp, but I have noticed that when he's trying to pole arm, he uses his left. I haven't seen him do it with his right. I haven't seen him do some rip pull kind of things. I don't see that right hand being used the way that I think it should be. And I think that Frank Calrk has some kind of issue going on that we're unaware of at this point. But I think the brace gives that away too. So other teams know that. Okay, so with that said, no more super chats to cover yet, right? Okay, so I'm going to go back to Brian's question. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Oh, and Maximo, I didn't even see your donation. Thank you. Come back with a question, though. I'm going to start with questions right behind Brian. So if you asked a question earlier, come back and throw it back in there and hit a couple of question marks at the beginning. Nathan Roth, do you think Andy isn't running the ball because he's not sure who the workhorse back should be? No, Andy doesn't care. He expects everybody to be able to run when they put him in there. Honestly, I'm really disappointed, especially after he hits that wheel route and Darryl gets a pass for 52 yards and they never gave him a touch the rest of the game. It's just silly. I think it's tunnel vision. It's trying to get your passing game on track because that's where your meat and potatoes come from. And I think he throws everything else aside when he gets focused on that. I think that's what Andy Reid does. That's my thought. Scott Conklin. Oh, you're here at work. Sorry. Do you think we're going to get out of this bad situation? Is there anything going to change? I miss our days of playoff hopes. I don't think the playoff hopes are in jeopardy yet. It's 2 games. They got serious things to figure out, but I think they're going to get there. I'm not worried about them not making the playoffs at all. I just don't know if they can win the playoffs. That's the bigger question for me. So, no, your hopes are alive, my friend. You're going to be all right. Scott Meza, should Veach find a pass protector before the trade deadline? You're not going to get one. No one's going to give one up. It's a great idea, but nobody's giving away good offensive line. You're going to have to pay for whatever you get. And so if you're going to have to give up draft picks on that kind of magnitude, the only 3 positions that are worth it are edge rusher, cornerback, and quarterback. That's it. Left tackles don't grow on trees. There's only about 11 or 12 of them that are really good in this league. No one's going to give those up. They have to get better at what they do, or they have to adjust what they're doing to fit the guys they have. Now, injuries play a big part in that. They're going to get Fisher back eventually. They're going to get Wiley back eventually. Maybe you can say you're still not happy with Wiley being in there. That's okay. I thought Rankin played good for his first exposure to game time in this offense. He's underachieved. He's better on paper than he is on film so far, but I think Rankin's still got some upside to him. So I'm positive about that. And I think Wisniewski's going to contribute to this offensive line. It's about getting everybody back on the field. And at that point, I think they're going to be okay. Jeff Lever, adjustments, why can't they make them? I think Spagnuolo is doing a much better job than we've seen in years past. He is mixing and matching. He is trying to take guys away. There's a couple of things that still give him problems. They still can't banjo very well. Stacked wide receivers still give this team trouble, and that's just a coaching point. That's got to come from the DB coaches. It's got to get explained better and worked out better. There's some aspect of it that's based on like Ward being young, but like Fuller and Breeland shouldn't have that problem. So it's also about placement and where it goes around. Jared Panzer, what's the issue surrounding Thornhill's interceptions? Didn't he get to see the part of the games, so didn't know this whole situation? No, I mean, honestly, I think it's just instinctual. The ball was in the air. He turned around and saw it, and he's a ball hawk. He had a chance to make a play on the ball. His instincts took over, and he grabbed it. I don't think that was, I think that's just a rookie thing, and being instinctual, I think that will come with age. It would have been better if he'd batted it down instead, but it's just not something I think you can expect a rookie to be that seasoned to do. Next question. I talked about Zach Brown. I talked about what's his name? Brandon Marshall. Talked about Shane Ray. Okay, got all those. I'm gonna skip the rest of the linebacker questions, you guys. Honey Badger did have a few words with Cutie. I didn't know that. I didn't pay attention to that part, so interesting. Billy the Kid, who do you think, Peterson or Ramsey? I'm in the Peterson group. I would take Ramsey too, but I think Peterson will not only help your defense, I think he will help your other players. I'm not sure Ramsey can do that. Jimmy's Phillips. Oh, wait a minute. Did I miss somebody's? Oh, got a super chat. I will call you out here in a minute. Where'd it go? Jimmy's. What has Reggie done to be on the shit list? I don't know. Oh, and sorry, folks, if you have kids watching. I don't know. He actually got in the game. I think it was the Colts, where he got lined up in the slot, and he still made the play at the line of scrimmage. So you can't tell me that he can't do some coverage and perform well. There's just something there that they don't like or they don't think fits, and I don't know what that is. Aaron Morrow, Calrk takes plays off a ton. Have you seen it yet? I haven't seen him take a play off. I will say I have seen him pull up in pursuit a lot. I won't say that he takes plays off where he doesn't rush hard, but if the play's away from him and he doesn't think he's involved in it, I do see him pull up. I see a lot of guys pull up. I feel like this team is not finishing plays. Curtis Douglas, seen Reggie in a couple of snaps and he tackled the RB for a loss. Yeah, I mean, Reggie's made the most of his snaps. He isn't getting much, but he's doing the most that he can. Best possible single piece we could trade for before the deadline, Patrick Peterson. Sorry, who was that? Oh, that was Kyle Robinson. Michael Rodriguez, who you cutting to sign a guy like Shane Ray? Sanat, the offensive lineman, I would let him go. Ryan Hunter's already gone. I'd probably continue down that line. Quite frankly, I'd go with Yelder over Blake Bell. Just my thought, but it is what it is. Scott Mesa, Sorensen seems to be earning a spot to play. Do I agree? I think Sorensen showed exactly what he is. I thought he played near the line of scrimmage well, and I thought the 2 times in coverage that he got exposed, he came up and made good, solid tackles. I think that's something that's been missing from this defense as well. So kudos for Dan Sorensen playing his like strong safety role. I think that's perfect for him, and I think he's doing a decent job of it. Marshall Smith, no. Brandon Marshall is not an option. He can't run. I talked about that earlier. Let's see. Who else? Okay. A lot of linebacker questions. Hey, Ryan, you should talk about Clark Hunt about being a new head coach. There's not going to be a new head coach anytime soon, you guys. Not going to happen. I guarantee it. Ownership is very happy with Reed despite not making a Super Bowl yet. There will be no pressure unless they go – when they fall below 500, there'll be pressure. Nathan Altick, when is Darrell Williams finally going to get the touches from Damian? I don't know, man. I'm waiting. He's earned a share of the split. I don't know why. It is what it is. Do we see more? Scott Mesa. Do we see more RPO to help establish the run game? I don't think so, because I don't think the RPOs are getting pulled down and actually run very often. I think they're still ending up mostly passes. So I think if you want to get it running like I do, you have to call dedicated runs. You need to run inside outside zone. You need to run a little bit of power. I want to see counters, and I don't care if it's reverses. Run the ball, pull players up to the line of scrimmage, and then you have a chance to hit past them. Metal Rocker, glad you're there, Ben. What do you think of the signing of Wisniewski and McLean? I thought McLean put in a couple of good snaps. He did pop out twice to me on film. And I'll take a look when the All-22 comes out. I just won't be able to do a review on the film before the Thursday game. So usually I spend all Tuesday night doing that so that the video comes out on Wednesday. But Wednesday I have to have the game plan out this week. So it's just hosed. So I'll throw a couple little tidbits. I just won't be able to do a film room video. Danilo, how are you, bud? Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you today. We'll figure that out. I think tomorrow will work. Do you feel after Jackson, Forsett, and Watson facing more of a pocket passer like Flacco will help the Chiefs D settle in a bit? If so, how much? It's a very good point. I think it will allow a Frank to have more of a set pass rush plan to attack the tackle and not have to worry about acquiring where the quarterback's gone in the meantime. I do think that helps Frank in particular. I also feel like it opens up, like I said earlier, the A-gap blitzing. I don't care. Send people. Send more than you have been sending right now, because I think pressure protects everybody right now, and I want to see that quite a bit. Good question. Brian Gooch, thanks for another donation. Dang, dude. Where is DOD to set the edge? Could he help Ragland in the run game? DOD's undersized. I don't think that he helps in the run game right now, especially because he hasn't played that late. I don't think he's got any blitzes whatsoever. What I would do is I would play him even as a strong safety pass coverage. I think DOD deserves to be on the field. I don't know what either, but it's something that the staff doesn't like. He is right now. John, you guys are right. Shout out last week. I want to say he limited did practice today. I'll have to go back and check that. Maximo, they get. It's kind of at this point, it's like harassing. I don't. I know that there are at least 3 teams right now that are actively pursuing Peterson. I hope the Chiefs are one of them. I've heard multiple reports in the media that it's up to 5 or 6, but I've only heard of 3 that have actually been making off. John Coy, will the O-line get better in a hurry? What about Trent Williams? Trent Williams He's malcontent. They're going to stick to him. I don't think they're going to trade him at all, to tell you the truth. And quite frankly, you're not going to bench Eric Fisher for him. The injury history alone is a question mark, so I don't think he's an option. And quite frankly, when Fisher's in, I don't think Fisher's been the problem. So, I mean, you want to trade for a center? If you can get a good one, I'm all for listening. Nathan Roth, how could no one on defense guess where the ball was going on 4th and 3? That's the problem. You're not supposed to guess. You're given an assignment. You're supposed to execute it. They don't. They start guessing, and they start giving up their assignments, and that's when there's massive holes. That's the problem. Let's see, Ribs. What about Ada Ocho? Did he sign with someone? I did not see that he signed. I do believe he is an available free agent. John Moser, Breland has too many holds. Is he overmatched? He is in speed. Breland is a very good corner. One susceptibility is long speed because he can't run with guys. You saw that. Fuller dropped a touchdown that he should have had. This game actually wasn't as close as it looked. But that said, anybody who isn't the fastest guy on the opposing team, Fuller's a good matchup. It's just that they don't want to start shadowing guys based on speed. So that means safety rotation behind him to protect against the long plays. And then also, I have to say, it has to make Juan Thornhill start covering ground faster. He's got to process faster. That's part of what's been slowing him down and why he hasn't been making a lot of plays. Big Test. What's up, bud? If the Chiefs lose to Denver, is it time to hit the panic button? I don't know. Depends what you mean by the panic button. There's not much else they can do. I mean, they go try throw money at something, but I don't think it's going to help. And I'm not to the point where I think it's Spag's fault. It's still a combination. I think he's calling some good things. I think the players are failing to execute, and then I think there's other times where he's getting a little too crafty, and not overall. I think the biggest problem between the players and the coaches is they're not being aggressive enough. Aggression solves a lot of issues. Scott Meza, I'm not going to get into the officiating. There's nothing I can do about it. I think we all know that they're doing a pretty piss poor job this year, but I can't tell you anything of any insight. So, Maximo, any update on Sammy Watkins? Yeah, he looks limited. There's rumor that he might make it onto the field on Thursday night. We will see. Jerry Conklin, why don't we play Ragland? Yeah, I talked about Ragland. He should be playing, in my opinion. Jerry Pratt, thanks for your donation. Appreciate it. Do you think the refs need to get better glasses? Now that's funny. In all honesty, the league needs to look at this whole PI challenge thing. If you're not going to actually look at the visual evidence, then there's no reason to have it be a rule. So that's the take I'll give you. Scott Meza, you should break down all the missed tackles. There's not enough time, bro. There's just far too many of them. And Darren Lee's a culprit that stands out in my mind. Wilson missed a couple this week. A lot at the linebacker level. It's just too much. Deldrick Smith, do we need a linebacker more like Hightower from the Patriots? Hightower is a guy that I coveted coming out of college because he's super hybrid. He's a big linebacker that can take on the run, but he also has enough speed to play coverage. They are not easy to find. The reason that you're not hearing a whole lot out of Devin Bush and Devin White is they're undersized guys. They can play coverage. Are they maximizing against the run? No, and they're not gonna. They might in a few years after they become, savvy veterans. But guys like Hightower are hard to find. Same with William McGinnis. That's why he was so good. They are just hard to find. Mike Hall, any thoughts on Spag saying last week that they hardly practice stopping the run on defense? How's that even possible? It's because of the limitations in the CBA. They only have so many hours that they can be on the practice field. And this staff is choosing to emphasize the pass. That's what they're worried about. It's a passing league, and they're more worried about stopping the pass than stopping the run. Clearly, it's not working, and they have to dedicate more time. We'll see if they do. When's the trade deadline? Nathan Roth, it's October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. Maximo, would you trade Ward or Breland for Peterson? That defeats the purpose. You're trying to add Peterson to the group. I I would not. That doesn't really help you. Just replaces one all-pro, but you're still only 3 guys deep at that point. Harry Mills, you're saying your game suffers on a short week. You're absolutely right. My game suffers. Nathan Roth, would you rather see the defense give up 200 yards on the ground or 300 in the air? I don't care. I want to see them stop people. I want to see them not allow points. If right now the bigger problem is the ground game because it's keeping your offense off of the field. So I guess this week I'd rather see him give it up in the air. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. I come from a background. I want to see good defense. I don't want to see either of those things happen. You shouldn't give up 300 in the air, and you shouldn't give up 200 on the ground, period. The defenses are at a disadvantage rules-wise, but they're also being dumbed down to just play coverage. And they're playing these small linebackers and strong safeties in coverage, trying to stay with guys. They don't take the ball away. They don't hit anymore. They don't stop the run game. I mean, the run game's an epidemic here. And I told you guys a year ago that, hey, this past league is going to shift back towards the other end as teams start to realize if you're going to give me nickel and dime looks, I'm going to run all over you. And that's what the Vikings are doing. That's what the 49ers are doing. That's what the Patriots are doing. It's going to swing back the other way. And that's why all these guys that are so angry about analytics, that's why they're frustrated right now, because they haven't been looking as long. Sound breaking up. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Audio. Okay. I'm behind on this chat, so I apologize. Is this any better? Okay, guys, right, for those of you right in the chat right now, I just scrolled down to the end and I missed a bunch of questions, but tell me right now, is the audio better? I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I got Jerry's. Okay, and Wolverine, after all the injuries heal and we're back to our main roster, will we have enough time to get back into the swing of things and go to the Super Bowl? I think so. I hope so. Okay, rock on. Glad to see that's better. Okay. I certainly hope so. I think once they get their normal roster back and they can recover, and now the problem is it's a long season. You could have other injuries in the meantime, but once they're back to their normal roster, yeah, I think you will see that. Good question, Wolverine, and thanks for the donation. Andre Bruce, do you think we should have picked Rex Ryan as our D coordinator? That's who I wanted. Yeah, I'm a Rex fan. Rex is uber aggressive, to the point where it puts him at peril sometimes. But Rex is uber aggressive. I like his style. I think Rex is a good defensive coordinator, maybe excellent. I don't think he's a head coach. And I think a lot of his reputation right now is stained by his head coaching record. I still think he can be an elite defensive coordinator. And you're right, Harry. Rex would have run a base 3-4 as well, which means Justin Houston could have still been here. He would have had to take a pay cut, but Scott Mesa, did Agba play to standards? Agba's been a breath of fresh air. I didn't expect him to play this well. I don't think he had a big game this week. I think it was 4 tackles, but Agba's been playing better than I expected him to, so kudos to him. Dr. Sanitary, does Brett Veach need to start being held accountable? Yeah, I mean, you always have to be held accountable. I will say that I don't feel he's drafting poorly. I think he's prioritizing things a little bit differently than I would have. I think the bigger question is, are his guys that he acquired in free agents going to eventually live up to that? I'm not sure of that. That's what I question. But it's also a question is that he's hitting on offensive players. I think that's because he comes from offense. I think Coach Reed is more specific about what he likes. And I think it's more of a question mark for who he drafts on defense, depending on who the coordinator is. So I think there's a little more slush there. But he's always held accountable. I think he's going to be all right. It might take a couple of years to get on track. And as Matt Derrick pointed out to me today, the second year of any defensive change is usually better than the first. So we've got to keep that in mind as well. Rodney McDuffie, Chiefs get Zach Brown. No, he can't help you. He's not enough of an athlete anymore. Nathan Altick, is Reed going to instill some discipline in this team at some point? I hope so. And I hope that the lackadaisical, the wait and see attitude, the less aggression, I hope that's not coming from Reed, because Reed's going to be the one thread through all of this. Sutton, Spags, whoever comes after Spags, Andy Reid's going to be here for all of it. No, I appreciate that, Maxima, but no, they should not hire me as a defensive coordinator. I'd love to chip in, but I am no coordinator. Spags knows more. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. Put it that way. But I am willing to learn, and I am hoping to work in the league. So if anybody from the organization is listening, and I know some of you are, if you want help, I'm here to help. Let's see what else you guys got. D Ford is balling out. I thought he had a decent game. I don't know. I'd call him balling out. I think it's more about Justin Houston's playing like Justin Houston, and if it's about $8.5 million less than he would have made had he stayed. So if he would have taken that pay cut, I'd have much rather had him. I'll tell you that, but that's me. No, Patriots aren't running as much as they were, but they're still running more than most of the league, though, Table. Lever, I am a Naughty fan. On what has he shown you? He's shown me that he can man the middle as a second-year player. He's shown me that he can do the job. He's not being terribly impactful in the pass, but he's a run-first kind of defender. Unfortunately, he's drawing a lot of double teams, and I do want to see him anchor a little bit better. He's not quite as stout as I want him to be. And quite frankly, I don't see them using him as a penetrator much. When he and Jones are on the field, I want to see them attack gaps more and get into the backfield. I don't see that happening. I don't see them doing any shifting. I don't see them trying to set those guys up to really hit the gaps really hard. Okay, a lot of questions still coming in. Scrolling down, you guys. Is home field advantage off the table? No, not necessarily. You never know. And you still have a head-to-head with the Patriots, but we'll see what happens. Maximo, only 2 undefeated teams left. Yep. Jeff Lever, in these dog days of Chiefs fandom, I like the way you put that. Give us something positive to look forward to. The offense is going to get better. Tyreek Hill's back. Sammy's going to be back. And at that point, if you can just get protection, and Eric Fisher will help you with that, and so will Wiley to some extent, you can get back to pushing the ball down the field and putting up 30 points a game. And that takes the run game for the other team out of it somewhat and protects your defense. So that helps the whole team. And I do anticipate that happening. So I just got to get there. CB, did Reggie insult Spags' mama? I don't know, man. I really just don't get it. Harry, Rexy understands how multiple you can be with a particular lineup of a nose tackle, ends, and outside linebackers. Yes, he does, and he's creative. And Stevie Keys, you're right. Stevie said, I thought Rex would have been too much drama, but at this point, I'd take his arrogance and nastiness. And that's what the trade-off is. The big question for me was, I'm a Rex fan, and I wanted him, but how could he get along with Andy Reid, who's a big personality? I'm not sure Rex is ready to be subservient. After being a head coach at multiple teams, can he go back to just minding the defense and shutting his mouth when he's told to? I don't know if Rex has that in him. So that's a legitimate gripe. But I definitely, I don't think it's time to fire Spags. I'll tell you that for sure. But I still like Rex. Okay. How does Kelsey beat his double coverage? It's with athleticism. That's really what it is. And he has to be patient. He's going to get doubled a lot. He's going to get bumped a lot. And what you saw in that penalty that was called and then wasn't called and all that kind of crap, that's getting him to the point where he's about to break. Like, he's frustrated. He's got to dial that back in. We can't see him turn into the hothead that we saw a few years ago. He's got to be able to sustain himself. Let's see. John Coy, do we draft O-line in the early rounds? It depends what you mean on early rounds. First, second, third, maybe. They have 2 picks in the second right now. They cannot use any of those top 3 picks on an offensive lineman. No. You can get quality guards in the third, in the fourth. I would do that. They think they have their swing tackle in Rankins. I'm not sure that that's the case. If that were to become the priority, I could see them jumping into their late second round pick, but I wouldn't right now. Let's see here. Okay, your thoughts on K-Pass's play. I thought he showed up from time to time. I thought he got beat up in the run game too much, but in the pass rush, I saw him moving some guys. His bull rush is coming along. Not something that he's been terribly great with, but I think he's learning to use his leverage better. And I do like seeing that. Kenneth, so given that Reggie is our best luck at stopping the run, do you still see him as trade bait for Peterson? I think the team does. I don't, but I think the team does. I don't know that the Cardinals would be very interested in a run stopper either, but I haven't looked specifically at where the Cardinals are getting beat on defense either, so I'd have to look at that to know. Jimmy Phillips, wouldn't it be fair to say that even the Spags was in the organization for the draft, he didn't have a fair idea as to what he actually had? No, I mean, it was just film review. He hadn't met the guys. I mean, it was definitely a first year kind of thing. It will be catch up later. D'Angelo, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Nathan Roth, is Fisher and Wiley close to returning? You know, BJ mentioned on one of the Chiefs official pods last week some speculation about Fisher being ready. That's all that I've heard. I haven't heard anybody say that he's ready to go, so I don't think that he is, but it seems that he's inching closer. I don't think he practiced today, so that's an indication as well. Excuse me. Bono Kwai. Aloha. Lack of intensity from defense falls squarely on Spags. Compared to their top-tier defenses in the league, it's like watching men compared to boys. You know, I have to agree with you. Aggression is a key component in playing defense, and I don't see it. And I feel like Tyrann Mathieu's trying to get it there, but I don't think he can push. I think it's got to come from the leadership up front, and it's got to come from the coaching staff, and they have to get aggressive now, like to the point of exposing themselves to big plays in order to get aggressive. You're losing as it is. It's incredibly frustrating to get run on like they have been. I'd rather see them blitz and get beat. I'm just saying. At least you're attacking. Aaron Morrow, did you see CeeDee Lamb this week? I like the guy a lot. Cale Garrett from Mizzou is great too. No, I haven't watched any college football at all. I won't do that until the bowl season. There's just too much NFL for me to watch. Let's see. Where do you think this is improving against the run? I'd like to see more from Frank. Improving against the run, in my opinion, I don't think it's the defensive linemen. I think they're doing what they have to do. They could play better, sure, but I don't think they're the weak link. I think it's the linebackers, and I have to see them attack holes and attack gaps and make plays in the backfield. There were opportunities to make tackles for loss last week that were not done because they weren't in position to do it. Metal Rocker, your thoughts on Okafor at this point in the season, and can he improve if needed to? I feel like he's playing pretty solid. Not huge impact, but well-rounded. I feel like they need to line him up a little bit wider and really allow him to attack. I think I've seen him drop more than I think that he can really get into a pass rush rhythm. But I think he can improve at some point, yes. That was a good question, Metal. Scott Conklin, is Andy giving up? No, he's just stubborn. Let's see. John Moser, why has Mahomes seemed off target? The pressure or the ankle? The ankle and the pressure. He can't step into his throws. He can't plan on his front foot. So he's doing it all with his arm. And quite frankly, I think he's starting to feel a little bit rushed. And when he can't escape and use his legs to run because of the ankle, I think that's what's making him rush things a little bit. It's also leading towards some of the inaccuracies. What are your thoughts on Watkins Is the injury history repeating itself? I don't think so. From everything that I've heard, he's in much better shape in his lower body. I think this was a specific pull, and it did happen at practice on what I thought was a wet field from what I'd heard. So I think it may be more of a freak accident. I don't know. Scott Conklin, we're going to get a corner. Why is this not important to anybody? It seems like I talked about it earlier in the show. I still think that's the number one priority, and I still think they have to go out and they should be pushing for Peterson right now. That's what I'd be doing. David Angel Molina, thank you. Another contribution. I know you hit me last night too. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. His comment, I was frustrated yesterday, but overall I'm happy with this team the first 4 weeks before all the injuries. I get all the next man up thing, but this is one of the hardest sports to do that in. And that's true, especially given how young they are at some of the more key, important positions. Hard to get a young guy to step up and really step into a role when he hasn't had a whole lot of experience at this level. It is night and day. And that brings me to Colin Saunders, actually. Big jump in terms of level of competition coming in the NFL. I thought he played pretty solid yesterday. I didn't see him getting washed out. I didn't see him make huge splash plays, but I didn't see him really get taken advantage of that much either. Maybe a play here or there. But I feel like Colin Saunders he's taking longer to develop than the other rookies in his class, Hardman and Thornhill, but I do feel like he's developing. And David, thank you again. Let's see. Scott Mays is Bieniemy take over after Andy to keep it in-house. He might, but I think Andy's going to stick around for most of Mahomes' career. I think that's his goal. So I think Eric Bieniemy will be offered a job that he will take in the next 2 years. I'm not sure it's going to be this year because he's not calling the plays yet. That's really been the mark of delineation for Nagy and Doug Peterson. When they called the plays, that's when they got serious offers. Maximo, any thoughts on Byron Pringles? I'm pretty pleased with him. When he gets his hand on the ball, I like his play strength. He runs through tackles. He attacks the tacklers. I like what I've seen from Byron Pringle. I think he's earning himself more snaps. Excuse me. Danilo, it took Fisher, Watkins, Jones, Hitchens, and Wiley being inactive and 2 strange point flipping calls by refs for the Texans to beat them by 7. Why don't the Chiefs fans take a breath? Well, the problem is that there was at least 2 other touchdowns that didn't get caught because Watson was a little bit off. So it is a little bit high-strung right now, and I think when they get back on the win streak, I think things will calm down. But there's some concern about it. I think everybody just wants to win. I think they're tired of watching this team shoot itself in the foot. And quite frankly, for me, it's more frustrating for me to watch a team with this much talent or this much potential not live up to it than it is to say, hey, that team's just better. You know what I mean? So that's my perspective on it. CB, do you still think they should trade for anyone? Yeah, Peterson is my choice. Pono, couldn't have Veach spent a bit more on a backup QB and a little more in the tank. Could have given Mahomes a few more important rest periods. Possibly. I mean, Henry's a good quarterback. If he hadn't gotten hurt, I think they'd be in great shape and they could actually rest Mahomes a little bit if they wanted to. I think he's eligible to come back week 9, I think. We'll see if he does. I think that would be an important addition. Scott Meza, does one guy, i.e. Fisher, really hurting pass protection, or is it miscommunication? I don't know that it's miscommunication. I think it's misidentification by Ryder. I don't think Ryder's making the best calls. I don't think they're setting him up to win. And if there is one guy besides Mitch Schwartz that can turn the tide, it is Eric Fisher. He is the next best lineman. He is better than LDT, who I feel is still a very good guard. Let's see, where'd we go? Got that one. Want to make sure. Okay, Nathan Roth, are you going to watch college tape? Check out Jabril Cox from NDSU. Okay, I'll do that. I got a watch list that I go through most of the college season. I just put guys on a list, then I go watch their film after the NFL season's over. Eric Townsley, if the Chiefs D just played average the last 2 games, do we win? Yes. Yes. If they can get off the field, they give the offense more chances, and they win both those games, in my opinion. Dr. Sanitary, how valuable do you think some of the younger guys like Saunders getting looks right now is early in the season? I think it's important. I don't think it's optimal, but I think it will pay off down the line, especially when you have to rotate those guys in the playoffs. Mike Hall, why do you think the linebackers stay back and wait instead of shooting the gaps? I think it's coaching. I think that's what they're being directed to do. Or they're just told to be aware of what else is going on. You see them follow play fakes, and they should. But then they don't attack when they realize it is run. So I feel like there's maybe too much going on in their heads. Armando Alban, how do you know that Andy might get Mahomes hammered if he doesn't adjust? Mahomes' entire career, it looks like Philly 2012 for Reed. Hey, that's a fair quamble. They got to make some changes. They got to get the offensive line back together, and they got to get them performing well. Does Andy Reid do anything with the defense, or does he feel Spags deal with everything on that side of the ball? Nathan, most of the time, historically, we've always heard that Reid is pretty hands-off of the defense from week to week, but he will give some overall input as to general dynamics. And that's why I feel like maybe he does have a little bit of influence saying, don't take too much risk. Be more aware of defending the pass. Those kind of things, not the specifics, but the generalities is what I'm thinking. Joseph, I disagree. Let's see. Scott Mays, does Veach use Sorensen as trade bait? I don't think so. I don't think he has a whole lot of value, but I could be wrong. Nathan, why has DeMarcus disappeared the last couple of games? That's a very good question. I'm pretty disappointed about it. He's had an opportunity to fill in for Sammy and play that X role. And quite frankly, I felt like he's fallen down the last 2 weeks. That's my problem with Robinson. Previous to the first 3 weeks of this season, he had not really shown out very much. He'd made a few plays when big things happened, big broken plays in particular, but hadn't really been a guy that you can rely on week in, week out. Mike Hall, what's happening to Noddy holding up the middle? Noddy's getting double teamed a lot. He is losing some of them, but he's doing a fairly good job. It's the linebackers that aren't filling by everything that I've seen. Aneta77, why are we so poor at pressuring? Texans game, we couldn't even get close. That's the mystery. Part of it is not having Chris Jones. I don't know what's going on with Frank Calrk, but they got to get it figured out, and they got to dial it up. And if that means, and that's the thing, if you go get a number one corner like Jalen Ramsey or like Patrick Peterson, that means you don't have to play as much zone, and you can bring 7 and 8 guys in the box, and you can get creative with the blitzing, and that will help your pass rush, obviously. So it is about that they don't have the coverage to leave on islands. That changes if you get Peterson and Ramsey, and I think that changes the defense overall for the better. Okay, David Molina, absolutely, and I talked about that earlier in the show. We're going to wrap it up here in a second, and go check that out at the beginning. I kind of talked about Reggie a little bit, as well as a bunch of options at linebacker. Pono, what's the problem with Reid? He doesn't seem to care about the defense. No, it's not that he doesn't care. It's just that he likes to have his DC be in charge, and he doesn't meddle so much. Do Ward play cover 2 or man? They're mixing it all up, and honestly, they're playing a lot of cover 2 man under as well. The play that Ward made the interception on was a man turn, and he played it great. Rip Leaf, life, thank you, appreciate it. Let's see, last couple here. Nathan Roth, is Damian Williams falling off the depth chart? He's still not 100%. I don't know if he's 100%. I know the team seemed very frustrated with him not getting back out there. Shady's injury was more severe, and he returned faster. I'm not sure they're very happy with that. Justin Trouble, I'll have my game plan for the Denver game coming up, but I think they need to sell out to stop the run. Lindsey's a crafty runner. I think they need to blitz. They need to pack the box. They need to take their chances with Flacco beating them in coverage. I think that's acceptable, and I think that can help them win. And I do think the Chiefs beat the Broncos, yes. Scott Mesa, I'm still waiting for a vendor who will make me custom koozies without making me buy 1,000 of them before they'll make them. So I'm working on it. That said, it's been a good hour, folks. I'm glad you guys made it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back We'll be back post game probably Friday this week, the whole Thursday night thing. And then I'm going to go on vacation next week, but I will have videos for you. We'll do a game from the Broncos, and I will have a couple of shorter videos this week. So make sure you check those out. They won't be film rooms, but we'll go through it. So appreciate all you guys hanging out and all your donations tonight and every week and everything else. Check out the shirts if you want to help some more. Check out Aaron. He's got examples of them all. Thanks, buddy. And I hope you guys have a great night. I'll talk to you next time.